Welcome back to Cruise Director with Shelby Frenette. I have three wonderful gentlemen, very handsome, by my side here today that are going to tell you about their experiences on travel. They have experience in the single sailing arena, and I've got one of my co-hosts here, and I want to introduce him first. We're going to go around the room. Let's give it up for Richie Daleo. Give us a little bit about yourself, Richie. Take it away.
Hi, Shelby. Okay, as for me, I'm a promoter for the Rooftop Club at the Hard Rock, and I'm also the co-host of a cruise that's coming up, a singles cruise on November 17th to the 20th.
I love it. I love it. I can't wait to do that with you. It's going to be so much fun. We did we had a cruise about in January you were on as well. We had over 100 people on that one.
Over 175.
Amazing, amazing. And you kind of like the man about town, I call people. That's what I say when people say, who's Richie? I go, he's like the man about town. He knows all the places. He's at all the gigs. Like you're always moving. You're a mover and a shaker all around town. Isn't that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And so you come from New York.
Brooklyn, New York.
Okay.
Living in Florida for 40 years now.
40 years. I love it. And so you guys, do you go out 7 nights a week or 6 nights a week? Because you're out all the time.
No, I have to have one night to do my laundry.
But almost every night you're out.
Yes, pretty much.
I love it. I love it. Well, it's great to have you here. Super excited about our cruise, and we'll talk about that more in just a moment. I'd like to introduce Michael. Michael, introduce yourself and tell them where you're from and a little bit about you.
My name is Mike. I am originally from New York, and now I live in Pompano. And big cruiser, so that's why I guess I'm invited today. And I'll fill in on whatever information I can give you guys.
I love it. How long have you been cruising? Like since when? When did you first have your first cruise?
We were just saying, I think 2006, where it started with the Covenant House, which was a charity, and I got hooked. And I used to just go once a year, then it became twice a year, and in the last year, probably about 10.
Oh, wow.
So,
that's a ton. I didn't realize that. 10 in the last year.
Yeah, after COVID, it started becoming about one a month.
Yeah, you got to get them in. I totally understand that. I have over 500 cruises under my belt. What are you at?
I'm at a little over 70.
Okay, that's pretty big. I mean, I got paid to be on mine, so I was working. You were actually having vacations. And what's your most cruise line?
The most is Carnival, then Royal, and Norwegian.
Okay.
And I say all of them. There's pros and cons to all of them.
There is. I say the same thing. I always say, there's pluses and minuses to everything, but every single cruise line I've ever been on, I can truly say that there's a plus. You know, there's not one perfect one. They're all really great. And we can talk about that a little bit more in our segment. But I'm really glad you're here. Thanks so much for coming. I look forward to hearing your feedback.
And I'll say one last thing.
Sure.
And I tell this to people. Of all my cruises, never one have I gone home wishing I didn't go on that cruise.
Yeah, you never regret the vacations you take, that's for sure. It's like one of these things where the only thing you can regret is not going, I think. The experiences that you gain from vacationing are just unlike any other. All right. Well, let's bring it over to Mr. James Brown. I feel good. Tell me about yourself, James. Where are you from? How much have you cruised? And then we'll get into it.
Okay. I'm James Brown. I'm originally from upstate New York, near the Canadian border.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
A little small farmer's town.
Okay.
I've been in Florida for about 3.5 years.
Yep, I knew that.
Yeah, I'm a retired. I used to work with the criminally insane.
I did not know that.
Yeah, so I did that for 25 years.
The criminally insane.
Criminally insane.
Oh, gosh. I want you on a podcast for more information on that.
Very interesting.
Yeah, I bet.
So fully retired now. I do have a potential contract with NBC Universal to do a reality show of dating over 60.
Oh, my gosh.
So it's like a big thing that just happened.
It's huge.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, that is great. I've been wanting them to do an older, besides 20-year-olds in the dating arena. I'm so sick of seeing those reality shows with like no 20-year-old needs a date anyway. I mean, seriously, like
Right.
That's really the way it is. And I've been working with singles for the past 15 years. I started about 15 years ago after I was done with my cruise directing gig on Princess. I was kind of poached when I came here to Florida to being the lead cruise director for a big singles company. Mm-hmm. And so that kind of like was my dive into that experience. And with the reality shows that came out, it was right around that time when reality shows started to really get big. But my biggest, my biggest bone to pick with them is that they're constantly recreating the same BS with the 20-year-olds. And even on the single sailings that we host, There's no 20-year-olds. And that's one of the biggest misconceptions over on what a single sailing is. They all think it's going to be a bunch of 20-year-olds, like a frat party. And I'm like, what 20-year-old has enough money to go on vacation on a cruise with their friends, and they don't need a date anyway?
I agree.
Yeah, I'm excited for this. This is exciting. Well, you'll have to definitely come back for another podcast because I was interviewed to do The Real Love Boat. They had the dating show just recently. It was based off Princess Cruises. And I went, and NBC called me, and I did the interview, and we got really close. But they ended up choosing a real Carnival cruise director, actually. But as I said to them, I was like, I am the real Julie McCoy. I'm actually a real cruise director for singles. I'm not, that's really been my life. And you made a grave mistake, and their show plummeted because of it. And I'm not joking. That's the truth.
It's true.
It really did. I mean, it was too played up, but another big miss. And I told them they should just come on one of our single sailings and videotape. I'm like, stop trying to contrive.
Just do it live.
Just do it live.
Yeah.
There's enough drama that actually happens on a single sailing that you don't need to make it up. And it's much more interesting.
Yes.
And then the older client, and I don't want to say older, but older than 20, there's so much more sustenance to what happens, because the difference in dating when you're over 35 or over 40 is so different than when you're 20.
Yes.
I mean, when you're dating when you're 20, I can almost hardly remember what it was like. But if I try to think back, it was a completely different energetic vibe and a whole different life ago. And when you're dating when you're over 40, there's so many different nuances. A lot of people have families. You're kind of combining families. Career-wise, you're different. And then you have a checklist, and the checklist gets longer and longer. Doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Well, it's great to have you here. I'm super excited. I'm going to ask you guys some questions. Don't be worried. If you don't want to answer anything, you can just plead the fifth. It's okay. I don't mind. But if it's anything too naughty, we'll edit it out. Don't worry. I have the studio director's thumbs up on that. He'll protect us. But let's try to be as authentic as possible and give our experiences. I guess I'll just go really quickly around to how many cruises everybody's had. You said over 70, Mike. So that's cool. Like that's actually incredible. That's way more than most people have ever had, and especially in a short amount of time. If you just started in 2006 or 7.
Yeah, well, what's nice is where we live, we're so close to the ports.
Yeah.
So, yeah, a lot of my cruises have been 3 days, 4-day, 5-day cruises. But to leave your house on a Thursday, you can be home on a Monday, and we're so lucky because
We're so lucky.
a lot of people that I meet on a cruise, even on a 3-day, they fly in, they have to pay for their airfare, they have to stay at a hotel the night before,
Right.
and we just drive 1 hour on the ship.
We're so lucky.
So,
Yeah.
that's
It's-
one of the big reasons.
It's a huge thing. I mean, it's not just convenience and airfare cost, but the time, the extra time that you lose when you're flying somewhere. And the Caribbean is truly a paradise. I mean, I've been out to Hawaii. I've done a couple. I think I spent 6 months doing the Hawaii run and the and Tahiti run, where you're out in the South Pacific in Australia and New Zealand. We did China, but when I talk about like the most beautiful places on earth, and I generally say Tahiti, Bora Bora, Moorea, if I have to choose, that's probably my favorite, most beautiful places. But the Caribbean is like pretty close. I mean, it's just so gorgeous. We're so fortunate. Okay, and James, how about you? How many cruises have you been on?
Well, I just got my gold card from Carnival.
Oh, gold.
Just got that. So.
Love it.
And then I cruise a lot
With Richie.
with Richie.
Yeah, Richie Rich. Now, Richie has his own game plan going. This guy can figure out anything. And they pay him to cruise, basically.
I do. What do you think I go with them?
I know. I told them, I said, well, you should become a travel agent. They'll literally pay you to cruise. And that'll be funny just for fun. So how many cruises have you been on, Richie? And tell us about your experiences.
Oh, probably like 25 or 30. I've been cruising since 1991.
Wow.
And that was my first cruise, a Carnival cruise back in 1991. And I did a lot of Carnival cruises. Then I changed over to Royal because I found that Royal treated me a lot better.
Yeah.
And I've been doing Royal since, I don't know, last 10 years, I'm going to say.
Okay.
And have a great time. I enjoy it. I'm going to say 30, maybe 35.
35?
I'm
That's
actually
it?
a diamond. I'm actually a diamond on Royal. Well, now it'll be going more because now I go every other month.
Yeah. I'm surprised 35 seemed like a low number for you. Are you sure? Have you done the actual math? Or are you just guessing?
I'm just guessing.
It's more.
Really just guessing. All I know is I have a stack of cards about this thing.
Yeah. Well, I definitely, when I say I've done 500 cruises, it's the truth because I used to work on ships and I spent 8 years. But I've only actually ever gone as a passenger when I'm not working on 3.
Wow.
And that's only because I don't have time. It's not because I'm all cruised out. People say, oh, when you have to vacation, you'll have a problem being able to turn it off. You'll want to help everyone. Not true. I have no problem turning it off, and I want to be on vacation more. But I do actually always get group pictures, though. Even when I'm a passenger, I've noticed. I'm like, oh, that's a great group picture. Stay there. I'll get it for you. It's a cruise director Shelby moment. I can't stop myself. I don't know. It's an addiction. But I just want people to have good memories because it is such an amazing thing to do with your friends, your families. The thing I love about bringing a bunch of singles on, actually any group, but the singles especially, the thing I like most about it is that it's not a dating game. No. And we're not trying to force people to date. And I think that's another misconception with the single sailings is that they think it's a dating service where you're going to maybe feel uncomfortable or feel like you're on a 3-night blind date, and nothing's further than the truth. Yes. The way I set mine up, I tell people I'm just trying to create the organic environment for you all to meet other people, mostly make friendships that other travelers, but absolutely we do get love connections because, it's an adults area and everyone's single and you meet some people you like. They like to travel. Number one, they're not scam artists most likely like you find online, right? Because you actually meet face to face, which I think is a huge plus. And then you also know that they have the means to travel and they love to travel. So there's like 3 big things when you're on a single sailing where you're going to meet like-minded people that I think is a big deal. But tell me what you thought. You went on our single sailing in January with Travel Fun. And what did you think and what did you expect? And had you been on one before? Like, give us kind of James, we'll start with you, kind of your feedback on what you thought a single sailing was going to be like and what it actually was like.
Yeah, first ones that I went on is when I moved here to Florida.
Okay.
I didn't really know much about them. But, the misconception is, it's a bunch of people getting together, jumping in and out of each other's beds.
Yes.
Everyone focuses on single.
Right. The word single is like such a naughty word. Or so. Why is that? I don't understand that.
It should be. I think it should be called solo, but single.
Right. And I have been using that. I've kind of rebranded that with Travel Fun. I use solo sailings a lot more because of exactly that mentality. Go on. I'm so sorry to interrupt.
It's okay. Being single here in Florida and being new, of course, I tried several of the dating sites. I'm not putting them down, but it's a lot of work. If you meet 5 people, that's 5 dates.
Yeah.
The great thing about the single cruises is that there's hundreds of people that you meet per day if you want to.
Right.
So if you are single, like myself, it's just a great environment.
And there's no pressure. It's not like an interview style where I find, so I was single until I was 35. I didn't get married until I was 35. And so no one has met more single men than me. I believe that to be true because I was the main cruise director for all the singles sailings that we did. And I would not date the guests. That was one of my rules. And I want your funny stories at some point. We're going to get to the funny stories and the funny dating stories. So keep listening. But I never dated the guests, at least while I was on the cruise. And that was always my mentality. They'd say, oh, you're the one I really want. And I'd say, well, that's real flattering. But let's just wait 7 days. And you know what? None of them could wait 7 days. That's the honest truth of why I didn't date anyone that I hosted for. Because the men would profess that they wanted to be with me. I'd say, okay, well, I can exchange numbers at the end of the cruise, but it wouldn't be professional for me to be hooking up with you while I'm hosting hundreds of singles. It's not fair. Right. First of all, I get more attention because I've got the microphone. Mm-hmm. Second of all, it's just a little bit, it's unethical. I ain't doing that. Every single one that I was interested in, and there was probably, out of maybe a couple dozen that had the cojones to actually come up to me and say something, I probably was interested in about 5. And of those 5, every single one of them was either caught snogging, making out with a girl at the disco late night, or like I heard that they went, and liked this one or liked that one. And I was like, man, that was not cool. That wasn't fair for me. But I love the fact that it wasn't interview style dating, which is what has happened now with all this online dating.
Yes.
It's like, I remember doing a speed dating and they're like, how much do you make? And I was like, oh, that's kind of personal. Like, I don't even know you. You haven't even bought me a drink yet. Like, what is this? Like, I don't even understand this kind of mentality. They asked me if I had kids, if I wanted kids, what kind of car I drove. And I was like, I'm so done with this date. Like, dating to me in my 20s and 30s was supposed to be electrifying, kind of like I feel something, I'm interested. I'm not asking questions in order to check a box off. I'm just enjoying your company, and I'm thinking, is this person like gonna be the one for me? So in the singles dating scene, when you're online here, it's more interview style, right?
Yes, it is. Yeah. Totally.
Kind of takes the spark away from it.
It does. I mean, being in the cruise is like going to college as a grown-up.
I love it.
Away from your parents and kids.
Yeah.
Truly enjoy it. It's one of the most enjoyable vacations. I've had the opportunity to travel a lot, Asia and all over the world. I sort of narrowed it down to the cruise because I'm just having so much fun.
Right. It's a plus. Like, you're going to have a fun no matter what.
Yeah,
you might not meet the
guaranteed.
one, but you're going to have a great time.
Yeah, you're guaranteed to have a great time.
And tell me if you see, thank you. Tell me if you see the same. I see that most guys especially become like cool cat guy friends, like other guy friends. The camaraderie is so much more possible on a cruise when you're like living in that little environment the whole time, where guys end up meeting other friends where they probably wouldn't, because guys aren't as much like go out or get friends like girls are. Like, I find that to be what I witness. What do you think about that?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we come with our own crew, but
Right.
We meet so many other people.
Yeah.
We met a lot of other great dudes and met a lot of group of women. And they'll probably be returning to this cruise as well.
Yeah, for sure.
So you do strike up a lot of friendships, not just from Florida, but from all over.
Yeah, that's right, because it's totally international. And so, when did you start cruising with the singles, Richie? Richie, baby.
Actually, cruising with the singles was maybe 3 years ago.
Okay, that's interesting. I would have thought it was before then.
No, actually, I enjoy going on cruises with my friends, but I couldn't say, because I put together a crowd of 25 people to
Yep.
go on a cruise back a couple of times. Actually, 2 years ago, I put together almost 20 people, and they were all pretty much single, but it was like my own group of people. But actually, with a singles cruise, it was like maybe 3 years ago.
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, and so what did you think it was going to be like?
Single people.
Yeah, but did you think it was going to be like? Did you think it was going to be this fraternity? Everyone's running around naked, sex everywhere.
No.
You didn't think that.
I thought it was a chance to meet new people that you've never met before, that are not married, not involved with anybody.
Yeah.
That's what I thought it was going to be. And it
was.
actually-
That's what it was.
Yes, it was. I met a whole bunch of new people.
Yeah.
Some of them was good. Some of them didn't live here, so that wasn't really going to work out.
Well, you're not a tree, Richie. I always tell that to my singles. You're not a tree. I mean, someone can usually leave. and if you find a connection over 40, you find a connection with someone, you should run that down. Just FYI for the future. That's my tips. I don't like to be a dating coach, but I do say that.
Even though they were not living here, I was still friendly,
Yeah.
nice to them, great conversationalist.
Yeah.
I enjoyed talking to people. Even though, I went on a cruise to meet people and have fun, and that's exactly what I did. Even though I know there was no opportunity of seeing them again, but I had fun, and I enjoyed all my single cruises.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, it's a good old time. But they do come back to Florida quite a bit because this is the cruising mecca of the world, like you mentioned. So Michael, tell me, what was your anticipation before you've been on a single sailing, right? You have.
I've been on cruises, like I said, with Covenant
Yeah.
House, there was a lot of singles. But what you guys are talking about, like, I had a cruise in March, and there was about 12 of us. And 2 guys were from North Carolina, 1 lady from Illinois, 1 lady from Texas, 1 lady from Detroit, 2 guys from Tampa, and 2 guys, I think, from Montana. And these are all people that we've just met on different cruises.
Yeah.
And like what you were saying about the Mecca of Miami,
Right.
we now do a cruise once a year.
I love it.
And our group keeps growing, where there was another guy, now I'm remembering, from Detroit we met. He was on the cruise by himself, and now he's cruising with us, and he actually hangs out with the girl that lives in Detroit. They were just at a casino together last week. But it's just nice because kind of like what Richie's saying, I go on cruises just to socialize and have a good time. So more the merrier.
Yeah.
And sometimes you make lifelong friends where if they live in other states, usually they cruise and they cruise again with us.
I love
so
it.
even if they're in another state, we may cruise again each year. And
But it opens up that friendship circle all around, really.
100%.
Yeah, it's like international.
the beauty of Facebook, it
Yeah.
makes it easy. Your
It
friend
sure does.
requests them, and then you start a little group page or a group messenger about what cruises we're going to book. But that's it.
I love it. So let's talk more about like dating and the singles scene, and also just kind of for our listeners, since we're talking about singles, I would love all of your opinions on what you're like looking for in a woman, or what do you think a woman would like to know about a single guy. Like a lot of the ladies, anytime over 40, and that's usually our crowd is over 40, they really don't understand what they're doing wrong, and most of them want a partner. What would you like to give them as advice, or what do you think is missing? Any way you want to sort of share that information that would be helpful, or what are you looking for? Like, I want to keep it a broad question so you can answer it as authentically as you'd like to. But as a single man, you know, you're very strong, handsome, go-getter. Like, what are you looking for, and what do you think they're looking for? What do you think?
Well, basically what I look for, of course, I'm a male, so attraction is important.
Yeah, well, I think it should be important to everybody, really.
That's going to be one thing.
I mean, yeah,
you know,
physical. I don't know why we have to be so shy about that. Why is that like a new age thing? It used to be that you'd always look at looks first, and it was like an acceptable thing. Now everyone's like, well, I want to be attracted to them physically, and it's like, sorry, I said that. You shouldn't be ashamed in that. Like, I mean, you should be attracted to that person.
absolutely. They don't have to be perfect.
No, well, no one's perfect. I mean, physically maybe you are, but
Thank you.
but we know you're not perfect. I don't know what's
Far
wrong,
from
but I
it.
know there's something. We
Far
all got
from it.
something.
But, you know, that's the first thing that's going to attract a male because we're visual.
Yeah.
And then if we approach that person, we look to see, you know, if they're friendly.
Yeah, friendly.
If we're on a cruise, are they fun?
Are they smiling?
Are they smiling?
My husband used to say that. He's like, you know, the best look on you, and he's like, a smile. Just please smile, because some ladies get really. I don't know. I mean, I see it. I watch it. Like their defenses are up, and I know it's because they've been hurt. We've all been hurt.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you can get out of dating after 30 years old and not have a really pretty good scar, if you were opening yourself up to anybody. But I always tell the ladies, I'm like, smile. That's it. Just try that. That starts things, because some of the ladies are really unapproachable.
Yes, I understand that. And I understand where they're coming from. I think, if I could interject, one of the big positives about these cruises is that if a person is going alone, you will be greeted and you'll be around people likewise. If you're a single woman or a single man, as for the women, she'll be safe because they're on the boat with everyone else.
Right. There's power. It's a really nice. People say solo, as you had said earlier, and the only reason I don't push the solo thing is because people really do travel by themselves these days. I can't think of. I as a woman, I wouldn't want to do that there's a few reasons. Safety is one of them, but the other one is that I don't want to just be around couples and families and like be like the third wheel at a dinner table, and like, who do I hang out with? I mean, I don't know. That seems a little bit unfun.
Yes, absolutely.
But yeah, it is safer. I agree.
Well, I made, not knowing about cruises. I went on a cruise just by myself. It was just a cruise.
Yeah.
I had a wonderful time, but it was boring because
it's boring.
There's husbands and wives.
Yeah.
And,
You're like, where do I fit in?
so I just sort of.
I actually say that. I'm like, I don't know. I couldn't think of a more. I mean, I have been by myself too, because when I worked on ships in the beginning, I didn't know anyone. And so I'd get on board and, you work like crazy, like 12, 15, 16-hour days. And then you have a little time off. And not all your friends that you've met, even on the cruise as the employees, have the same time off. So you just go by yourself. And it's like, well, I've seen some amazing things, but completely by myself, what I missed was like rubbing elbows with someone and saying, wow, look at that.
Yes.
You really, like humans need that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And
I could tell you one thing.
please.
James and I go on a lot of cruises together. We never have a bad time.
Yeah, well, that's
And we
not,
never
but
not
you're not
meet
solo. You've got a wingman though. That's different.
We never not meet people. Actually, people do come over to us.
Yeah, well, I'm not surprised at all about that. But you're not by yourself.
No.
That's different.
We're together.
Well,
Yeah.
if I could give a quick story.
You can.
Okay, this is so true what happened. Me and Richie were on the Wonder, and Richie was at the blackjack table. I've never played blackjack, so I was very interested in how the whole thing works. So I'm standing behind him for hours just watching the game. A gentleman next to him, he looks at Richie and he goes, who's this guy behind you? Sort of making me nervous because I'm just sitting there.
He says to me, is that your bodyguard? So I look at James and I said,
That's
yeah, but don't say
hilarious.
nothing.
So it literally went viral
Really?
on that ship.
Yes.
That he was like this big, huge tycoon. And
Like a mafia dude, like The Godfather?
Yes,
Oh, that's
they were
hilarious.
taking pictures of him getting his chair,
Getting his chair.
everything.
I never seen so many people come over to want to know who I was, and I wouldn't freeze it. Then they go to James. James says, I can't tell you.
I can't reveal that.
Yeah, and so you created the curiosity, which I sell in all my social media marketing tools. I always say create curiosity.
One woman invited me to her table with her husband, for dessert. And I said, James, wake up. I said, James, you talk to her. I don't want to talk to her.
That is hilarious.
He was getting hounded, literally.
But this is so okay. I know why you told me this story just for entertainment value, but I honestly feel like this is a really good point. That and when I see with singles and trying to start dating and what we're looking for in a woman or a man, so being physically attractive, of course, smiling, being approachable. That's always good. But creating curiosity is a big deal in human relationships. And I think when we get older, I hear a lot of cut to the chase. I don't want to play any games. They love me for who I am or I'll leave them. And people I find that I'm witnessing, because I spend days with these people, like, a whole week most of the time. That's a lot of time, It is. And so I just witness what I'm witnessing and kind of as an unbiased standard, because it doesn't really matter to me personally if they end up, coming into a big relationship or finding the love of their lives. But what I find is that the curiosity building is a huge factor in courtship. And courtship is not dead. It's very important that everybody understands when you're dating at all, courtship is still a thing.
Sure.
And creating curiosity intrigues people.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and so with women, I usually feel like for most of the relationships that we're talking about, which are just monogamous, normal male-female relationships, like where there's masculine, feminine, the man is doing the chasing and the lady needs to create the curiosity, which means don't give it all away at once. And a lot of times women like to share a lot at first, and they generally want to share with their crappy stuff. And I always say, like, that's not, like, don't talk about your exes for like months. Like, nobody wants to hear it. Like, just, that's your own thing. You don't even know if you're going to go on a second date with this dude. Like, take it back a notch. Just have fun.
Just have fun.
Just have fun. Just be fun and light.
Yes, just let it go. You're out in the ocean. You're in paradise.
That's definitely.
Just don't bring anything with you.
Yeah,
It'll
yeah.
be waiting for you when you get home. So
Exactly. I love
enjoy.
it. It's so true. It's so true. So, Richie, how much dating do you do, Richie Rich? I mean, I don't really know your dating schedule. You seem like you're a man about town. Everyone's always hanging on you. You got pictures with all the lovely ladies. What's your story, Richie?
I'm just very well known.
You are well known. Are you looking?
I've been a promoter for 25 years. I know a lot of people. 90% of those pictures you see of me on Facebook, and I shouldn't give this away, are just friends.
Oh.
People that want to take pictures with me all the time, because I take pictures with women all the time, so they want to take pictures with me all the time. But that's it. No, as far as dating, yes, I do date once in a while. You know, when I find the right person, and finding the right person to me is walking by some woman and smiling at her, and if she smiles back, that's a plus.
Yeah.
Most women don't always smile back. They don't give you eye contact. They don't smile back. So if ladies, if you want to pick up a guy, give him a little smile.
Smile.
You know, he's not going to bite you.
Right. Well, you're not revealing anything. It's not like you're giving away anything. Like,
Right.
I don't know why women are so, like, I'm only like a 7 or 8, but when I smile, my husband says I'm a 10. You know what I mean? And it's the truth. I think he's right.
Yeah, so smile back doesn't mean that I'm going to come over and chase after you.
Right.
You know, it's just a way to say hello in a nice way, friendly way. And that's the first thing women should be. It's friendly, because I'm friendly to everybody I walk by. I never stop. I never say no to anybody that wants to say hello to me or talk to me.
Right. You don't act as if you're too good to speak to them. You're
Correct.
always very approachable too. Yeah.
Right. And that's the way they should be. They want to meet guys, you have to be friendly to them the same way they'll be friendly to you. Mm-hmm. If it doesn't work, it's fine. You just say thank you and walk away.
Yeah. I love that tip. It's good. So are you dating anyone?
No. I'm available.
Well,
Hello.
turn it over to you, Michael.
I'm available. And I'm going on a cruise in 2 weeks.
Well, to get back to a few things, I didn't want to interrupt. But again, people go on cruises. If you go solo, my suggestion, get the drink package.
Yeah.
Hang out at the bars.
Yes.
And it's so easy to meet people. Everybody is friendly on a cruise ship. Of course, if you go on a singles cruise, you meet up with that group. But even if you were to cruise alone, you hang out at the bar, and it's real simple. You just say, you know, where are you guys from? It's your first time on a cruise?
Yeah.
And that's it. And next thing you know, the conversation starts.
And I agree with you. And what about dating though? What do you think for women? Like what do you think is advice or things you're looking for? I don't know about, I hate the word advice because nobody wants advice, right? But what would be some thoughts that come to your mind when you're talking about what you're looking for in a woman, or what, you know, on a single sailing, what would that be like?
I agree with Richie. I mean, the smiling, I was going to make a joke that unless you're in Vegas, because usually if a girl smiles at you
in Vegas, she's like a woman of the night.
Yeah.
I didn't know about that until I was in Vegas a couple times ago. And we were actually at a nutritional conference. I have a company that I'm aligned with that I've been with forever. And anyway, we were at a big conference and we made friends with this dude. He was single by himself, and he went out that night. He came back looking like he had been through some stuff the night before, and he was pretty hungover as well. And he was like, I don't know how it happened. I met this girl, and we went back to the hotel, and like I had no money left, and I didn't feel good, and she drugged me, and I was like, what is that? And my husband was like, oh yeah, honey, they're like that. There's hookers here, and they'll do all that. I'm like, wow, I've never seen that part of Vegas, but good warning, good warning.
You'll be walking to the casino, and a girl's playing the slot machine with her body toward you and gives a smile, and usually that's
an indicator.
It's
that's
not you.
Yeah, that's
That's
you're
not my good looks.
That's hilarious.
That's either run or jump in.
Or get your wallet out, I guess. That's funny. That's not something I would be that aware of, though, of course, being as I'm a woman. But thank you for the tip. So we agree that like just being approachable is very important. And I know women, you know, I don't know, women over 40, how full their dating schedule is, that they could be like not wanting to smile back if they don't know that you're going to be the one that's theirs. You know, it seems like sometimes I've met women that they're standoffish because they don't want to give you the green light, so to speak. Yeah. And again, I find that to be not so smart, because I always tell people when I do a little date coaching, but not much because it's just so involved. But when I am coaching, I usually tell people it's not about just that person that you're meeting; it's about the person's friends. because it might not be the right match, you know, but then they might have a friend that works out. It's just like networking, really.
Absolutely.
And if you get a referral, you got a much better in.
I agree.
So, ladies, listen up. Smile. It's okay to smile. Okay, so I want to talk about funny dating stories. That's something I think is very important. Oh, we're closing in. Geez, that went by fast. I want to talk about any of your funniest dating stories that you would like to share, or craziest. I'm trying to think of. I haven't even thought of mine. I was kind of relying on you guys. I'm so in the thick of things. I do have mine. Okay. So I was dating online, and I was primed for marriage at that point. I was like in my early 30s. I had no kids, great job, owned my own condo. I was pretty good looking, and I had a great personality. And I got online, and this dude, he wanted to do a date. And at that point, we were trying to do like an active date, like it was a tennis date. And I love tennis. And I went and met him out in Boynton Beach, and he was really cute. And I was like, oh, this might be interesting. It was like a Tuesday night. And he started playing with me, and he was like really playing super hard, like really like smashing the ball. I'm like, dude, what the hell? But anyway, at some point during the game, he's like, are we going out after this? And it was like 8:00 on a Tuesday. And I'm like, no, like, I mean, it's like a school night, and I just, came to play some tennis. And he then proceeds, I'm about to serve. He literally gets on his phone while I'm serving, like on the court, and he starts to make another date. Like, I'm like, what are you up to? He goes, oh, I'm meeting friends. And I'm like, seriously, dude, did you just make another date while you were on the tennis court? Because I said, no, I'm not going out with you after this. And he actually made another date, not just with friends, but literally, like, I was like, wow, what is this world coming to? And I am a scheduler. I mean, I'm a cruise director. I'm an event planner. I schedule the shit out of things. But I can't imagine being so insanely rude as to schedule another date while I'm on the tennis court when someone's serving. Anyway,
That's something else.
yeah, that's like the new way. It's like the new way. Everyone's like setting up to the next thing. And how can you really enjoy what you're doing if you're always setting yourself up to the next thing? And that's the thing that the singles sailings has, I think, is above everything else.
Absolutely.
Is that you actually have concentrated time where you're not like, next,
Yes. I think, excuse me, I think just about everyone that has used, not everyone, that's an absolute, but a lot of people have experienced the old catfish. Person displays themselves in their pictures as a certain image, and
Yeah.
they show up and they're total different.
That's not smart, but like we should
Yeah.
talk about that too. I mean,
Yeah, that
it's
happens
good
a
to put
lot.
your best self out there. Don't get me wrong. I don't put my morning self out there on photos, but sometimes they would just. It was like 20 years old pictures, like
Yes.
20.
That's what I got one time.
Like,
It was
that's like a third of some people's lives.
It was 20 years old and filtered.
Yeah.
So when the person showed up, I kept on walking past them and then they said, James. I'm like, oh, hi. And I had no idea who it was. There's no catfishing on the cruise ship. You see what you get.
You get what you see.
Yeah.
And I love, the other thing I love about that is, do you agree that there's a certain, I don't know, maybe men are different. I could tell within about 5 minutes of meeting someone if I would ever actually get naked with them. I really can. I can tell. There's pheromones.
It's chemical.
There's chemistry. It's literal chemistry, and you cannot buy chemistry online.
Cannot.
You just can't.
That decision will happen a lot when you're on the dance floor. It'll
Yes.
happen when you're in the pool.
Yeah.
It'll happen when you're just interacting.
Exactly. And you cut to the chase when you meet in person.
Yes.
And I also think there's another opportunity because there's so many parameters. That's what online dating does, is they put you in parameters. And I think it's like, check this box. So, you have to be a certain age, a certain height, a certain look, a certain weight. And so people, it almost, it almost makes people lie because they want to be in your parameters. And frankly, if you meet in person, you might not realize so-and-so is XYZ age, or this one came from that place, and you're still like, the chemistry is already there. So you overlook a lot of these parameters that so many singles are now putting in their dating profiles. And you also can cut to the chase on all the skeezers because, you don't have to waste your time texting. That's a real person. It's not a fake person.
Right.
And they're not, they obviously have enough money to go on a cruise, so they're not totally, destitute, just looking for a free dinner.
That's a good point.
Right? It's everybody should go on one of our single sailings. That's right.
Yes,
That's my conclusion.
absolutely.
So tell us about one of your funny dating stories. You must have something. Is that the one? It just that's not funny.
It's not funny.
Well, I have one, if you don't have one.
Okay,
Better than mine.
Go ahead, Richie.
I have.
You've got the floor.
This is a long time ago.
Okay.
I meet this girl on a cruise, okay? And we hung out all night long, and we had to the bar and everything, drinking. It was getting towards like 1 o'clock in the morning. So she invites me back to her room. So I says, all right.
1 a.m, back to her room. Sounds like a good game plan. That's plan A.
Well, this is like the second time that I talked to her. So it's like the second day. So it's not just the first night I talked to the second night. All right. So I says, okay, I'll be up there. So I get up, I go up to her room, I knock on the door, and she comes to the door with practically nothing on. Mm-hmm. And I looked at it and I says, well, this turned me on now. And then I look in the room and there's another guy in the room.
Ah.
And I said, another guy? I says, this is not my thing. And I took off.
Wow, that's hilarious.
That was...
It's funny you mentioned this because I haven't mentioned this enough. The last company will remain nameless that I worked for, but they were noted by doing name beads, and they had these beads that had your name on it, which seemed like a really cool idea, although a little juvenile because it's like blocks, but it was nice to know. And then I found out, and I just found this out like 3 years ago when I was on a Temptations cruise, which is tops optional. It's a very wild cruise. Lots of swingers on that. Now, I am not a swinger. I'm just, for the record, we're not against anyone doing whatever is good for them, but that's not our thing. But we went there to make sure that everything was super fun and that it was classy and nobody did anything. Like they had security guards to make sure there was no sexual activity in public. But they had a lot of those types of people that would open their doors and they would say, hey, come on in, to Richie babies like you for a little, what do you call it, menage a trois. Anyway, I found out on that cruise that the swingers have actually trademarked those name beads as theirs, and different beads indicate which level of swingerness you're into. So, I don't know the color codeness, but there's like a red one means, only girls, a green one means you're new, and there was all these codes, and I thought, no wonder they always asked us if we were swingers, and I'd be like, no, we're not swingers. I mean, these people are just singles, but that's why.
That's why.
So we don't wear name beads on any of the travel fun single sailings. Okay. By the way, we have bracelets that indicate it. But that's hilarious. Give us one of yours. Come on, Michael.
Trying to keep it G-rated.
It doesn't have to be G-rated. It's a podcast.
Carnival years ago, where now the golf courses are, was a topless deck.
Right, that's true.
So one time I met a nice girl, and she was up there topless. And most guys all do the same thing. You walk upstairs, you look around, you go back down.
Yeah.
But it was a girl that I had met on the cruise, and she saw me and she invited me to hang out with her.
You're like, sure.
So
I'll keep my top off.
Right. We hung out for 3-4 hours. It was great. And the funniest part is it was a covenant cruise.
Okay.
So all the guys that I knew are constantly walking up, trying to get a couple of peeks, and then walking down.
Right.
And I'm just sitting there laughing.
You're like, you're like the king of the road there. Yeah. You got a ticket in. That's funny. That is funny. It's the whole dating arena. Did you have any funny stories you want to keep it? Do you want to share your funny story before we go?
Very quickly.
Oh, I'm excited.
Yeah. This is going back a little bit when I was still in upstate New York.
Okay.
I dated this, I can't say I dated her. I took her out on a date. Very flirtatious, very aggressive, which I had no problem with.
Right.
So she says, do you want to come back to my place? And I'm like, sure.
You got to speak a little closer. We're excited.
Okay. So I go, sure. So she goes, I'll be right back. So I'm thinking she's going to come back,
dressed in nothing.
Negligee or something like that. This is a true story. She came back in full leather with the zipper over the.
Oh, yeah.
With a big ass whip.
The S&M.
I took the screen door off of her house because she scared me that bad. Because she was already tall and she had 7-inch heels on. She looked like a demon or a devil.
A dominatrix, I think they call them.
She's whipping that thing.
Oh my God! Yeah, you gotta I mean, again, I don't want to be into like judging anybody's thing, but like you gotta like warn a guy about that.
That's a little too much for me.
So you took the screen door right off. That's so
scared me to death.
Oh, that's a good ending. I'll take that. Well, we are so excited that you guys came here to support Richie and I. Our cruise is November 17th. It's on the Royal Caribbean Liberty of the Seas, an absolutely gorgeous ship. It has the Broadway style shows. It has 25 different bars and restaurants. We're going to Perfect Day Coco Cay and NASA, and Perfect Day Coco Cay really is perfect. We're going to have a pool party there. We also have group dining, singles cocktail parties, and of course, Richie Baby will be there, and these gentlemen will be there too. So I'll be there. We're super excited to enjoy you guys and welcome you aboard and make sure that you have the most amazing single sailing you could possibly have. So if you haven't tried it, this is the one to try.
Yes.
And if you've gone before, this is a quick one. We don't do 3-day cruises very often, so definitely do not hesitate. Get back on board, get your booking, because the prices are only good until the end of the month, and then they will go up. That's all the true story. That's not a sales pitch. That's just the truth. And I just tell it how it is. That's the truth. Any parting words from my single gentlemen?
Nope.
Nope.
It's
Looking
mandatory. It's mandatory that everyone goes on this cruise.
Oh, it's mandatory. I like that. That works.
James says it's mandatory. Otherwise, you have to answer to him.
You got to answer to your bodyguard.
That's it.
Okay, Mr. Mafioso.
I just know from the drinking and the going on this ship, the beautiful thing with Coco Cay
Mm-hmm.
compared to other cruise lines, the ship goes right up to the island.
Yes.
So you walk off when you want. There's no tender. There's no cancellations because of the bad weather. The island I've been to, it's beautiful.
It is.
And the other thing, again, with the drinking, if you buy the drink package, it works on the island where it does not on other cruise lines.
That's right.
So
that's
another
right.
positive.
It is another positive.
So those are some big positives.
It is. I love your bullet point list, Michael. You're really great at this. Thank you so much. All right, thank you, gentlemen. I'm Shelby. You're fabulous. Don't forget to subscribe and like. Bye bye for now.